How many of you grew up somewhere where headlines like these were common? I did. See, a lot of you did as well, which isn't surprising. Ohio has a lot of places that deal with problems like these because it has a lot of older industrial cities. They were once some of the most powerful and prosperous cities in the country, but have since lost a lot of their economic opportunity, and in some cases, their populations have been cut in half. Budget cuts, high unemployment, and abandoned buildings are common problems in our cities. And you know, if that wasn't enough, our cities also have an image problem. People say our cities are boring, that they lack culture, even that they're dying. Consequently, our region's been dubbed the Rust Belt, as if to say its time has come and gone, and in its decline, its future is rusting into obscurity. And we don't do a whole lot to help with the stereotypes. How many of you are hoping to move somewhere else after you graduate? Get out of this region? Oh, this is even worse than I thought. Move somewhere warmer, more exciting. Well, today I want to take the opportunity to tell you how wrong this perspective is and hopefully encourage you to stay. I grew up in St. Louis, a Rust Belt city that's lost a greater percentage of its population than any other city in the country. But growing up, I was oblivious to that. I loved growing up in the city. I grew up half in the city and half in the suburbs, and trick-or-treating in the city allowed me to nearly double the amount of candy I was able to hoard every year. My childhood was filled with a wonderful sense of community and exploration. And when I moved to Cincinnati to go to Xavier University for undergrad, I felt that same sense of vitality and community in its neighborhoods. But my experiences with the region are not all happy memories. My first job post-college was as a community organizer in a low-income community in Cincinnati, where I saw how the Rust Belt's decline has impacted the people most vulnerable in the region. I worked in Cincinnati right at the height of the recession. Too often, families lost their jobs, then their homes, basically everything. And if this personal tragedy wasn't enough, the homes wouldn't sell, becoming vacant eyesores that the community had to deal with. It happened over and over again, and it was so disheartening. But instead of giving up, the residents rallied together and fought hard for their homes and their communities, fighting against blight and crime. It was incredibly inspiring and an important lesson in commitment. So I don't love these cities in spite of their problems. The challenges of our cities and the resiliency of the people facing them have made our cities gritty and strong. And it was this lesson that made me determined to be part of the region's revitalization. So 2 years ago, I went back to school to get a master's degree in city and regional planning so that I could take part in the region's revitalization. At Ohio State, I quickly found people that shared my passion for the region. We started talking about how we can't just walk away from these cities. These cities are our home, and it's part of our responsibility as city planners to be part of the revitalization. So we started a Rust Belt project so that we could bring our own perspective to the conversation about how to best address the city's issues. Now, we understand that the negative Rust Belt headlines don't lie, but they don't tell the whole story. There are so many inspiring people and organizations working on these cities' recovery. Cincinnati just finished phase 1 of its long-awaited riverfront development, the Banks. Youngstown's being recognized as one of the best cities in the country to be an entrepreneur, and a number of Cleveland's urban neighborhoods are experiencing a renaissance. I could go on, but instead I encourage you to check out some of the initiatives going on in your hometown. Together, these initiatives are taking ownership over the term Rust Belt and embracing it as one that symbolizes our region's resiliency, grittiness, and determination. As we as a region take back our identity and celebrate it, we change the narrative of the Rust Belt and take ownership over our future. So our project, Diamonds in the Rust, was inspired not only by the scope of the problems facing our region, but also by the innovative strategies going on to address them. Diamonds in the Rust is a year-long initiative in which 13 city and regional planning students are coming together to develop some of our own strategies to address the issues facing the Rust Belt. They range from community and economic development to regional planning to environmental issues and educational reform. Over spring break, we went on a Rust Belt road trip, visiting Youngstown, Pittsburgh, Detroit, and Flint. We met with some of their stakeholders, and we saw some of the best parts of these cities and some of the worst parts of these cities. We used this to develop our strategies and bring our own perspective to the conversation. So at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, that's neat, but why do I care? Why should I stay? Being a city planner sounds super boring, so what could I possibly do to help? But being part of the region's revitalization is not, you don't have to be a city planner to be part of the city's or region's revitalization. Wherever you're from or whatever your passions lie, you have an important role to play in the region's future. Even if you're from Columbus, which isn't a Rust Belt city, your commitment to the region's important. Columbus doesn't win if Cleveland fails. So whether you realize it or not, we're in this together. But this is a good thing. Being part of the Rust Belt's revitalization doesn't mean I'm trying to make you a city planner, although we are pretty amazing. Instead, being part of the revitalization efforts is actually pretty simple. There are 4 steps that will make you a Rust Belt revitalizer. First, embrace. Take a moment to think about what you love about your city. What makes it special? Your favorite restaurant, your favorite sports memories? I'm sure even Browns fans have a couple. I bet if you think about it, you'll realize you take your city and your region for granted. And I challenge you to stop apologizing for where you're from. Be proud. I get that we're polite here in the Rust Belt, but don't let people bash it. And this doesn't mean to ignore the real problems going on in our cities. Instead, be proud of our resiliency and hopeful for our future. Number 2, enjoy. One of the best things you can do for these cities is to go out and have a good time. It drives me crazy when people complain that there's nothing to do in our cities. We have some of the best cultural institutions, festivals, and sports teams in the country. There's so much fun stuff to do if you just look for it. I spent an entire summer in Cincinnati in search of the best burger in the city, and I got to meet some of the city's best local entrepreneurs and go to some new neighborhoods in the process. So explore, try new things. Don't be afraid to visit a neighborhood you've never been to before, and just go out and have a good time. 3, commit. For those of you willing to go the extra mile out of love for your city, I challenge you to get your hands dirty. These cities need our help. And I am amazed at what one person, what one group can do and its impact on the city. So I encourage you to join a cleanup day, support local businesses, even move to an urban neighborhood and be part of its renaissance. 4th and finally, stay. The most important thing you can do for our region is to stay. Staying here or coming back after exploring the world and putting down roots is so important to changing the trend. Just being here makes our city stronger. Now I understand that staying doesn't necessarily sound that easy. Some of our cities are facing serious economic challenges. And with a degree from Ohio State, you may decide to move somewhere else with better job prospects. Although I can't blame you for following opportunity, I encourage you to seek out and find opportunity in your own region. Opportunities are all around us. Detroit and Pittsburgh were both in the top 10 in 2011 for job growth, and Ohio's economy is growing. There are so many opportunities to make an impact in the region, and I promise you it will be rewarding to stay. These 4 actions, embrace, enjoy, commit, and stay, will make all the difference to whether or not our region will be revitalized. While city planners and urban thinkers are important, if you all decide to leave, it will be for nothing. We can't abandon our cities. Our region's worth saving. There's so much potential here. It just needs us to be committed to it. Together, we can change the story of the Rust Belt from one of decline to one of hope and recovery. Thank you.